those laws on the books not to use them. They put those laws on the books to take everybody's assets. So the way around that is you get your assets out of the system so that there's no intermediary between you and your money. You have it in hand. For instance, with stocks, you want the stock certificates. You don't want to have bank balances. You want to have gold or silver. When your bank goes down, you're going to get bailed in. You need to, and that's from a financial standpoint. From a life standpoint, you've got to make sure that you've got enough supplies to feed yourself. You've got to make sure you have clean water. You got to make sure you have an energy source. You need some type of community people with you because you can't stay awake 24 hours at a time. You need to plan to get yourself out of the system before this happens. Because once it happens, whatever you have is all you're going to have, and you're in place. You will not be able to alter anything in your living conditions once this happens.
Armstrong says the timing is 2026. That this is going to work through the end of the year, and then then there's also Venezuela, which could be something that Trump will. Who knows if he's cutting a deal with China and Russia, saying we'll stay out of the Ukraine deal, but you got to stay out of Venezuela. You got to stay out of our neck of the woods. Could that happen?
Yeah. Well, Venezuela, that's interesting on its own. I mean, obviously, that's about their oil. They do have, other reserves. I mean, they have gold reserves in the ground. It's and understand that the oil revenues have funded the CIA for years, and they really rely on that now because they don't have the Afghanistan poppy fields to give them cash flow. And it's my belief that Trump is trying to squeeze the dark forces, if you will, the black money, the dark money. He's trying to shut that off. They take that or on balance sheet use. In other words, bring it above board. Yeah, we stole their oil, and here's the money we made from it, as opposed to the oil being siphoned off and those funds going, being run through the CIA and funding the CIA.
Well, Alex Newman says there's huge China, Iran, and Russia involvement, and they also, big into voter fraud. Of course, I can understand why Russia, we've been going after them for years in Ukraine, but big voter fraud happening down in Ukraine is the rumor that I've been hearing.
Yeah, and electronically, I mean, it was voter fraud. It aided voter fraud in the United States. It's not just the voter fraud there. It's if you trace it back, some of it's been traced back to Venezuela.
That's something else. What kind of price are we talking about with? I mean, you've come on here before, people go, oh, that couldn't happen. But you look at how dire things are and how we had this big shutdown on what Thursday into Friday, saying that they lost power and whatever. I mean, you're saying expect more shutdowns, more exploding prices upward. Is that what you're saying?
Well, what they did was the cash market started to take off on Thursday, and basically they pulled the plug. They just shut the exchange down, and they said it was due to a air conditioning cooling failure. Well, my question is, why does as I understand it, other commodities, other contracts were trading. Why is it that it affects gold and silver only, and it doesn't affect other markets?
Oh, good question. Yeah. You think are they nervous? Are they afraid? And if they are nervous and afraid, what are they afraid of? What are they sitting around in a room talking about that you think that they're saying behind the scenes?
They're afraid of the day where there's an absolute stampede. Understand human psyche. When you're told you cannot have something, you want it even more. And if you're being told that you can't have gold, you can't have silver, you will have an absolute tidal wave moving into into the metal. It's like I said, like piranha, like shark infested waters. Once there's blood, once they smell blood, human nature is, if I can't have it, I want it, and I'm going to get it now. And that's what causes the stampede.
Would you be a buyer? I guess. I mean, I hate to tell people to time the market, but I would. It seems to me that if that $50 an ounce is what it was, it's a record high 58 something. But if it was $50 an ounce in 1980, 45 years ago. I mean, is that really that much of a record?
Well, $50 was an anomaly back in 1980 because it came from call it under $2. So I mean that was an anomaly, and it probably shouldn't have gotten to $50. Uh, Either that or it should have blown up and become priceless and the dollar collapsed then. I mean, that was the first episode after Nixon going off the gold standard. Then they survived that. They survived it in 2011. They survived again in 2021 when there was that short squeeze. Now we've got 5 to 6 to 7 years of physical deficits behind us. And the market knows there's not going to be any huge supply that hits this market. If you're asking, should you buy or should you wait? My advice is whenever you have the money, you buy it because that way you're getting your money out of the banking system and into something that cannot bankrupt. It doesn't matter what the price is. You're going to measure your net worth in ounces. You're not going to measure your net worth in dollars or euros or pounds. You're going to measure your net worth in how many ounces of silver, how many ounces of gold you own.
Are we close to this thing? And I want to end with this because we don't have to have war and peace. I mean, your message is pretty clear. Are we getting close to mad? You brought this up when you first did. I thought, oh, that's kind of a wild title, and now I'm looking at it going, well, maybe not so wild. 2 trillion, 2 quadrillion in derivatives,
Right.
and all this demand on silver and gold, and central banks buying it. And oh my, could we be faced with a little Mad Max scenario at least for a while?
Well, that's where it leads to. Once you get a failure to deliver, then you will have a Mad Max scenario. Failure to deliver will close markets. It will melt down all derivatives. And understand, again, the world runs on credit, and credit runs on faith. And if you break faith and credit hiccups or ceases, then you've got a real problem both in the financial markets and the real economy.
Whew, boy.
You're asking, are we close? Yeah, of course we're close. You're saying Martin Armstrong says it's 2026. He's probably right, but I would add we've got to get to 2026 first. And we just had if you want to call it a very big tremor in the metals markets at the end of November. Does the earthquake come in December or does it come in 2026? I don't know. It doesn't matter. If you know what the ending is, you got to prepare for it now while you can.
So we had this this shutdown of the market. It was up $3.09 on Friday. You said it was up to $5 over a 24-hour period, around $5. How many more tremors do you think? Are we going to get this every week?
I have no idea. I mean, I don't have a crystal ball. Nobody has a crystal ball. Anybody who says they know when or a price, the biggest joke is when people say, "Oh, well, silver's going to go to $200 and gold's going to go to 14,000 or whatever numbers they use." And I've said this many times. Whatever number somebody is forecasting, I can almost guarantee you it will be laughably low when all is said and done. Because the opposite of zero is infinity.
Woo. I know you've said it in the past too, and I think people are like, oh, come on, can it really be that? You're like plus $100,000 for the price of gold. If you base it on the amount of gold we say we have, the 8,300
Right.
tons, right? And your math for that now it's that you did this a year ago. You said it was $125,000 or $30,000 an ounce. Now it's
It's over
4,200.
It's over 135,000. I haven't done the math in a year or 2 years, but yeah, it's definitely over 135,000 an ounce. if we had to pay our debt off with the gold that we supposedly have.
Man, um, here's the funny thing: people are selling their junk silver. I think that's the dumbest thing that you could ever do.
Yeah, let me explain that, Greg.
Please do.
And yeah, and junk right now is, I mean, it's the cheapest form you can buy. It's the best form you can buy. But when you go to sell it, you're getting $4 and $5 under spot. Because what's happened is back in the late 1970s and early 80s, the only way for an American to buy silver really was to buy junk silver. So you had these people in the run up to $50 in 1980. You had them buying silver. You had them buying junk silver.
Anyway, and
Now
just so
here we
people know
go.
what junk silver is, that's any coin 64 and earlier. Any
Right. Dimes, yeah, dimes, quarters, and half dollars, 1964 and earlier, they're 90% silver. So you have the public buying silver, and they bought quite a bit back then. Once we got into the 40s, you started seeing some selling. Once we got close to 50, you saw more. You saw more once we got through 50. I think that's beginning to abate now. But what's happening is dealers were saying we're taking in so much, we're not going to spend the capital to hold it and try to resell it. We're just going to send it to a refiner, refine it down, get paid for the silver. So if they're paying $4 or $5 under spot, that's 8 or 10% under spot. What's happening is the refiners are refining it, and that 8 or 10% is going to the wholesalers. Now, what does this mean? It means right now, if you want to sell junk silver, it's a crappy time to sell it. But long term, a lot of this junk silver has been melted down, which go out 6 months to a year from now. Guess what? There's not going to be much junk silver to be had. Then you'll see it at big premiums.
you'd be a buyer of junk silver.
Absolutely. It's the best form that an American can buy. I can buy it for you right now at spot. You find me any form of silver that you can buy at spot. There is none. And not only is it the cheapest form, it is the best form for an American to own. It cannot be counterfeited. It's readily recognizable. It's the smallest denomination, and it's U.S. mint lineage. It's the best silver that an American can own, and you can buy it right now at spot.
Wow, I didn't know I was going to get that. Coming from you, I know you work. You're metal. Just so people know, you are a precious metals broker. You've been one for many years at Miles Franklin. They're a very
Right.
good company, and this is what you're seeing firsthand in the trenches. You're seeing people making I would say, a dumb mistake of selling too early. Uh,
Well, yeah, but understand, Greg, a lot of this was silver that was bought 50 years, 40 years ago, 50 years ago. And people are saying, oh, I sat on it all this time. I want to get my dollars out of it. They forgot completely why they bought it in the first place. Although some people bought it in the first place just to make money, to turn a profit.
you're
And that's
seeing,
not why you buy gold or silver. You buy gold or silver to protect your wealth.
and you're seeing this at Miles Franklin. There, people are selling junk silver.
Um, some, yes. And I've got to say, the selling that I saw this year, this 2025, I had more clients selling metal than all of my 15 years in the precious metals business combined prior to that.
Wow, why?
And and I'm asking people, and not everyone, but call it 95%, tell me I need the money. I need the money to buy this. I need the money to live on. I need the money for that, whatever. They're not. It's not going into the stock market. It's not going into Bitcoin. People are selling just to support their lives.
What does that tell you?
Well, one thing it tells me is the real economy sucks. The real economy is cratering. And as usual, I mean, the numbers you get out of the BLS are hilarious. I mean, all you got to do is look at cardboard box production, look at traffic in Las Vegas. I mean, there's so many indicators that say this real economy is starting to shrink and shrink pretty hard. But yet, what do we get from the BLS? Everything's fine,
And
and it's
everything.
not.
Wow. Bill Holter, anything you want to add? Anything you want to add that because people always ask me this. Ask him what we should do. What would you tell people to do? I mean, this is gonna, when this blows, you're gonna be like Gandhi. You're going to be like, oh my God, he's been saying this for years, and I always thought he was, full of, crap, but he wasn't. I mean, I mean, I have all the respect for you in the world. I think you're right. What would you tell people to do if you could just shake them and say, listen to me?
Well, if you haven't, I mean, I would just say do your best. Do the best you can. Only you know whether you're doing your best or whether you're slacking. Do the best you can to get yourself into a situation where you can provide as much as possible for yourself. You don't want to have to rely on anyone else. You don't have to rely, you don't want to be forced to rely on a police force. You don't want to have to rely on the water company. You don't want to have to rely on the electric company. I have no idea what's going to work and what's not going to work, but I can tell you there's going to be a bunch of things that don't work, and you're going to have to do it yourself. So just do the best you can. Everybody's going to forget something, and don't kick yourself in the butt for forgetting something because you can't think of everything. One thing I have been telling people to do is go to my website, go to Grizzly's Corner. There's absolutely fabulous articles and links on prepping.
Good.
It's very in depth.
Bill Holter, BillHolter.com. Wow. You've really put a point on the risk in the system that it's going to bubble out in failure to deliver. That's where it's going to come out. Nobody trusts the collateral. Nobody trusts the bonds, right?
Yeah, and the problem is there's very little collateral that's unencumbered left. Everything's been borrowed against already. So what do you borrow against next?
That's right. I guess that's why there was an article, and I talked to who did I have on? I had somebody on recently talking about Ray Dalio. Who was it? Ray Dalio and Gunlock, who Bond King Gunlock, Dalio, Mr. Big Bridgewater hedge fund, and they made their money totally different ways, but they both came to the same conclusion. Right? There's no liquidity, and they're both buying gold.
Right. Well, they came around to the conclusion that the Austrian economists have talked about for years. They finally figured it out. When I say finally figured it out, they finally came to that conclusion. It took a while, and they are ahead of the curve because very few are on the curve at this point. Most people think it's not possible, it can't happen, but mathematically, a meltdown in derivatives, which melts everything down, is coming. It's over. Mathematically, it's over.
You're talking about, just so people understand this, Social Security is going to have a problem. Your checks are going to have a problem. Your banks are going to have a problem.
Everything.
Would you have cash? Would you still have dollars, 10s, 20s, 50s? Would you still have that?
But yes, but I would spend that within the first 2 weeks. I'd spend as much as you can. If you have cash, physical cash, it'll work as a premium for probably the first week or 2 weeks. And then what'll happen is you're going to go to a farmer and you're going to say, here's a $20 bill. I want some eggs and this and that. And the farmer's going to laugh at you and say, I don't take paper. Wow. And of course, they're not going to take Bitcoin either, but that's another story.
Bill Holter, thanks for joining us today on USAWatchdog.com. It wasn't a long interview, but it sure was potent and powerful. And I really appreciate you for coming on and laying it out and giving people the warning that they need to hear, which is get ready for rough sailing. It's already collapsed. We're just finding out how it's going to collapse, right?
Right.
Bill Holter, thanks for joining us today on USAWatchdog.com.
Thank you, Greg.